Today we are discussing about spices, not how they use in the dish, instead where they came from. What is their geography division? Before figuring out, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's face it, spices are the best part about eating food. They're what go into sauces, seasonings and directly onto our meals to make us want to eat. The fact that spices are great has been known from millennia now and has at certain points in history led to tremendous changes in society, economics and people. After all, Columbus was trying to find a new route to the East Indies to access the spice trade when he accidentally stumbled upon America. That means everything afterwards: the colonization, the destruction of the indigenous population, and even the Atlantic slave trade were all inadvertently caused by the search for spices. Caravans would cross deserts and seas to transport spices from one end of the known world to another. Not only did this drive the exchange of goods and currency, but created cultural interaction and diffusion, leading to the spread of ideas, religions, and technology across the world. Spices have played huge role in human history. Few people know about the vital role geography plays in both the growing and usage of spices in foods. Perhaps the most important thing to understand about them is that spices are defenses. How the spices are defenses? I will explain it to you after subscribing to my channel and press the bell icon. No, I am not that cruel a person, but your subscription will immensely help. So the same way predation of smaller animals by larger ones leads to certain animals developing some crazy defenses, plants are eaten by animals in what's called herbivory, which can lead to plants developing similar defenses over time. Some examples of this include plants growing thorns high off the ground and thick skins like bark, but by far the most common form of defense plants use are chemical defenses, usually by storing up a large amount of toxic chemicals in their bodies so that when eaten by herbivores it either kills them or at least injures them enough so that they never eat that plant again. Plants will store poisons in their bodies or fruits to deter herbivores. These poisons are our spices. For bigger animals like humans, this poison just tastes interesting. We're different because we have a much higher tolerance than the smaller organisms that these chemicals. Humans a few thousand years ago, they'd hunt and catch animals, and sometimes massive ones whose meat would sustain tribes for days or even weeks. But they couldn't simply put their leftovers in the fridge without that convenience. Bacteria and fungus like mold would quickly grow and make any leftover food rancid. If only there was a chemical designed to kill bacteria and fungus that was so abundant. Spices were used to kill any bacteria and such growing on our food in order to prolong the window in which it could be eaten. It also helped mask any bad flavor the meat had acquired due to rot. This made spices extremely valuable. If you wanted to survive, you had to be able to stomach these toxins. Therefore, whoever was more resilient to the toxins recalled spices were more capable of surviving in times of scarce food options. Basically, whoever could handle spicier foods could eat the safest food. In this way, evolution selected towards us not only being spice tolerant but actually for us to enjoy the flavors of spice, because it meant we were eating safe food. The requirement of using spices is directly proportional to the weather. Let's say India is amazing. This is also why so many Europeans valued spices so much and sailed everywhere in the world looking for trade routes to access these spices. On the biological side of this, because bacteria and fungi grow faster in warmer conditions, plants around the equator are more likely to store up chemical defenses to dissuade them as well. So not only did people who lived in the tropics have a greater need for spices. I decided this time to go through the hot spots and then catch any spices that don't belong to a certain hot spot at the end. The first important concentration is to be found in India and the rest of Southeast Asia. This area stretches from the subtropical into the tropical and once hosted the largest and oldest rainforest on the planet. Southern India is where basil, turmeric and black pepper, the most common pepper we use today, comes from. Curry also originated here, but that's actually a combination of several different spices, not just one plant. Further south, it's thought that cinnamon first began in Sri Lanka. To the east we have where ginger, Maluku or Molucas Islands in Indonesia, however, they used to have a much simpler name. The Spice Islands. From these few small islands cloves, mace and nutmeg originated. It was these islands in particular that drove the Portuguese and later the Dutch into the East Indies, and it was a trade route to these islands that Columbus was looking for when he set sail in 1492. Then on the other side of the world, Mexico was also a hub of maybe a lot of people's favorites. It was here paprika. Olive oil, which I don't know, just doesn't sound good. If that isn't enough though, it was also here that the cacao tree, what we use to make chocolate, was also first domesticated, most likely by the Olmec or Mokaya people, though the plant itself likely originated further south in the Amazon region. This plant was so prized then its beans were used as currency throughout several different Mesoamerican cultures. What's funny is that initially this plant wasn't desired for its beans, which is the part we now use to make chocolate, but instead it was the sweet pulp of the plant that was highly valued because it would be fermented and used to make alcohol. Iran is actually where a lot of spices are grown today, as its hot and arid climate replicate those found in places like the Mediterranean and Mexico very well. As for what spices originated here, both cilantro, coriander gathered the same thing, and cumin came from this area, but I saved the most important urban spice hotspot for last, the Mediterranean region, to start. The most common type of bay leaf comes from this region, though different types can be found across the world. Chamomile also came from this region. The Greek city of Marathon was originally just built in a field of fennel and named accordingly. Then a battle between the Greeks and Persians happened. Mediterranean region, which for the longest time went by the Greek name nard, so good call, switching into lavender mint, has spread across the world, but it's thought to have originated here as well, though it grows best in wetter climates. Primarily mint has grown near other more important plants, so its pungent smell keeps other pests away. It's basically only humans that actually like the smell and taste of mint, which is weird because mint is almost exclusively used because we think it smells good. Breath mints, toothpaste and mouthwash and chewing gum all use the aroma of this leaf, which only exists to keep herbivores from eating it with its awful smell. Actually, I guess that does make sense. If your breath smells like something that kills bacteria, then your mouth must not have any bacteria and therefore must be clean anyway. Mustard plants also got their start in this region. While many might be thinking of the condiment mustard, which is made from the seeds of mustard plants, mustard as a family includes the genus Brassica, which also includes turnips, cabbage, collard greens, kale, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts and canola plants. Yeah, mustards are more important than people realize. Oregano, on the other hand, is known to have originated specifically in Greece, and its name comes from the Greek words oros, meaning mountain, and gonos, meaning joy, to make a joy of the mountains, which is where wild oregano first grew. Saffron is one of the most expensive spices by weight, and that's because the part we use as a spice comes from the elongated stigmas. This part of the saffron flower, which usually only yield a couple per flower, they were specially bred on the island of Crete during the Bronze Age to be like this. From here had spread to become popular in foods and medicines. Next, we have the spices that appeared all on their own. Allspice, which has been described as sort of tasting like cinnamon, nutmeg and cloves all together, is also known by another name, Jamaican pimenta. So yeah, no surprise, got its start on the island of Jamaica in the Caribbean. Cayenne peppers are the classic red pepper most people probably think about when thinking of spicy peppers. These actually come from the French Guiana in South America, specifically from the Cayenne region. Funny how that worked out. The name cayenne originally comes from the native word denia, which also just means pepper, so cayenne pepper literally translates into pepper. Garlic, in my opinion, is just the best and comes from Central Asia, where Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and the Chinese Jian Shan mountains meet. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, maybe consider liking and subscribing. If you'd like to support me and this channel, you can throw a little spice my way by subscribing my channel.